There you go. Feel free to keep your video off if you're not interested in being on the video. Feel free to, yeah, put comments in the chat, or you can, shout them out. We're a smaller group today as well. And I'll hand it over to Signe.
Awesome. Thank you, Melanie. Yeah, thanks for coming, everyone. Like Melanie said, we're a bit of a smaller group than we were expecting today, but that's all the better for asking questions and which we will allow questions throughout the presentation since we are a small group, as well as at the end we'll have time for Q&A. So yeah, thank you for being here. So unfortunately, our folks from the Marriott were not able to make it tonight. So if there are any like outstanding questions that we can't answer related to the site, to the venue, we can definitely connect you with folks who can help answer that. And we'll make sure you have the resources you need. So yeah, I'm just going to jump into some housekeeping notes here. So if you'd like to ask any questions throughout, just feel free to raise your hand or put something in the chat, and we'll be monitoring the chat throughout. And then, like I said, at the end of the presentation, we'll have 10-15 minutes for questions. Anything else that comes up that you maybe forgot to ask, or more complex questions, feel free to email me and or Melanie, and we'll make sure you have our emails if you don't have them already. And then the session will be recorded, as Melanie mentioned, so we'll make sure you guys get a copy sent to you. Okay. So this is our agenda for the presentation tonight. There's quite a lot to cover, but it's basically everything that was in the call for submissions, just slightly elaborated on. So that's kind of what we're going to go through tonight. Okay. So just starting off, that we'd like to acknowledge that Nocturne takes place within Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We also acknowledge the significant foundations that the infrastructure and culture of Black and African Nova Scotian communities have played in building this province and country. And here at Nocturne, we will work to collaborate, amplify, and connect with the many art communities that live and work in Mi'kma'ki. And just a little bit about Nocturne. So if anyone is not familiar with Nocturne, we are a nonprofit arts organization here in Chibouctouc, Halifax. We were founded in 2008. So last year was our 15th anniversary, I believe. Just past our 16th in 2023. We're an Art at Night festival, one of many Art at Night festivals in Atlantic Canada. So we are part of ANFA, which is the Atlantic Art at Night Festival Association, I believe. Work closely with a lot of those folks to share things. And this statistic here is actually from, I think, 2022. I think this year we may have surpassed that, but we're still kind of figuring out our final stats. So if you've ever attended Nocturne, it really gets the whole city out and about, to see the city lit up. And this project that we're talking about today is not part of the main festival. So it's a really exciting opportunity to share some like off-season programming, which we've started to do more recently. And so we just have a couple slides going over what the Halifax Marriott Harbourfront is all about. If you live in Chibouctouc, you've probably seen this building before. It's right on the I guess maybe the north west end of the boardwalk. So it's located amidst the historic properties of Halifax and the world's longest urban harbourfront boardwalk, enabling guests to connect with the city and harbour, creating an environment that shifts effortlessly like the tides between work and play. Um, so these are just a few images. This is facing Lower Water Street, and down here you'll see that's where the doors will be that we are doing the call for. This is the back view and their patio back there too. And some other exciting things that the Halifax Marriott Harbourfront has been working on. Some partnerships with Halifax Mural Festival. So these are 2 of 4 murals that went up this past year. And yeah, those are visible from the boardwalk. There's also a wall that they're hoping to commission a large scale kind of outdoor installation for. So they've yeah, really been trying to work with local artists to become a little art hub. It's a great location for this kind of work too. There are lots of tourists that come through, as you know, in the summer as well. So that's just a little bit about the Marriott. Unfortunately, Jessica from the Marriott's on here to speak more on that. But if you have any other questions, I can connect you with her. So about the call for submissions, what we're seeking are proposals from local emerging artists or artist collectives for the development of a temporary public vinyl artwork that will be installed in the windows and revolving doors of the Halifax Marriott Harbourfront. And by vinyl, I mean peel and stick vinyl that you often see on windows, which we can talk more about later. As far as the proposals go, we encourage proposals that reflect our values as Nocturne's organizational values as an independent, non-commercial contemporary arts organization. We're really looking for proposals that are relevant and engaging, as well as approachable for all guests visiting the Marriott Harbourfront. Okay. How to apply for this call. So there's kind of 2 options that we're looking at here. We usually give these 2 options for most of our calls for submissions. So option 1 is your standard kind of application form. We usually use a Google Doc or Google form. The deadline for that is January 4th. It's a pretty straightforward form. And it's kind of asking for your proposal, some digital renderings if that's something that you're able to supply as well. And then just thinking about like past work that you've done. So there's an opportunity to submit images of past work, so we can kind of get to know you and your work a little more. And then option 2, which some folks find helpful, is some alternate submission forms, such as phone, video, or audio files. So this will be in addition to the Google form application. So if you'd like to, in addition to the form, submit something like this, we are more than happy to work with you on that. And you can just send us an email to arrange this. And then as for budget for the application, we are not requiring a budget, which we'll also talk about more. So that's just one less thing that you have to worry about for this project.
Sorry, Signe, I just want to jump in for 2 seconds. So you do choose to do, like, there are 2 options. So like you wouldn't have to fill out the Google form and then do an interview or like over phone or anything. So thinking about accessibility, if you would prefer to put your submission in over the phone or through video, we can accommodate that as well. But you wouldn't have to also put in the Google form. It wouldn't be both.
Sorry, that was my mistake.
No worries.
Thank you for clarifying that. That makes a lot more sense. So option 1, option 2. Awesome. And just a little bit about the space. I kind of pointed out on that first image of the Marriott that it's located right at the front doors. That's facing Lower Water Street. So the address is 1919 Upper Water Street. It's, yeah, this main entrance here with these revolving doors and two side doors here. These two doors, as you can clearly see, we're not permitted to put vinyl on them just because they have like accessibility signage and safety, yeah, signage. So unfortunately, those are not really part of it. And you can kind of see the design that they have right now. It amidst those two doors. So what we're looking at is basically all of these panels. So the ones on the side here, you're not really able to see. So it kind of, I think, wraps around here. We can definitely get some better photographs of that if that's helpful. We also encourage you to go see the space if you'd like in person. That's often a better way as artists to kind of see things in 3D. Yeah, and then these are the dimensions that the Marriott has provided for each of these panels. So this door does not have a yellow panel because we're not using it. And then this rendering does not include these revolving doors, but the revolving doors are also part of the vinyl installation. So you can see these photos here. The only ones that are not included are these sliding doors, which again have the yellow stickers on them. So basically any of the panels with the yellow sticker are not part of the installation. Yeah, vinyl should be considered for both sides of each panel. So they can be visible from the inside and the outside. In terms of like the type of vinyl, artists can use, you know, these kind of really kiss cut pieces of vinyl or more like bold designs. But again, I'll go through some examples of some contemporary artists who have worked with like window vinyl installations to give you guys some examples. And this is just a close-up of the rendering there. And please stop me anytime if you have questions about this. You know, it might be a little confusing through just the photos. Yeah, that's kind of a better view of the space there. And I just put together a few slides of artwork examples to kind of give some inspiration, or if you are not really familiar with this type of public artwork, just to give some inspiration. So this is a piece by Jordan Bennett, who's a local Mi'kmaq artist. And this is, I believe, somewhere on Barrington Street. I'm not sure if it's still there. I don't think it is. But as you can see, this is like a pretty like opaque looking design. It looks like it's covering the whole window, not really letting any light in, which I don't think would be ideal for the space that we have, but that's kind of an option that some people have used.
That would be an example of like printed vinyl opposed to cut vinyl.
Yeah. So printed vinyl that's like just on a sheet that is the size of the window without any kind of cutouts to let light through. This one is, it's actually taken from a lino cut and scanned and printed onto vinyl. It does have like a semi-opaque black background here, so it lets in some light, but not a lot of light. This is a great example of what you can do with really the versatility of vinyl design. So this is more, I think it would be called like Kiss Cut. Um, yeah, really love this one. And this is a Toronto-based installation. And this was part of STEP's public art project in 2020, 2021. And this is a view from the inside of a project, but these are just sheets with, again, semi-transparent backgrounds. That's another option. And this is an artist that's working in a very creative, colorful way with vinyl. This is basically his whole practice, as far as I could find. So lots of fun stuff. This is someone's like personal residence they commissioned. Yeah, so those are just some fun examples. So let's just go into the timeline for the application. So everything kind of opened on the 27th of October. November 21st, which is today, that's our information session, so that we can, yeah, get all the information we can to you ahead of time. The next date would be January 1st, which is when the call for submissions will close. February 15th, this is when we would like to have kind of a short list of artists selected to conduct presentations. And the presentations we'll talk a bit more about in other slides. So yeah, the jury, between this time and this time, the jury will have kind of gone through the first draft and selected a short list. March 1st, we'll have our final artist selected and informed by the jury that they have been chosen to create the work. March 15th, contract with the artist and the Marriott and Nocturne will be signed. April 15th is our goal for our install day. So in terms of the install, I'll talk more about that as well, but we are encouraging the artist to be present for install, though you don't necessarily have to do the install. We will have professionals who can install the work, but we are hoping that the artist would be present and be in town for that. So yeah, if anyone has any questions about the timeline or about anything related to the application, just let us know. As far as the selection process goes, all applications will go through a jury process, which is true for our main call for Nocturne as well. So jury members are usually made up of Nocturne board and committee members, but in this instance, we will have some representatives from the Marriott, Halifax, Marriott, Harbourfront as well. So after this initial run through by the jury, up to 3 artists will be shortlisted. So this could be 2, this could be 3. These 3 artists will be invited to do a more formal presentation of their proposed concept to the jury. And this will also be ideally in person. So this will be an opportunity to see the space, to like ask any and all questions that you have, really get to know the space more, get to know the Marriott more. Then the jury will deliberate and select the final artist, which, yeah, will go on to sign the contract and everything. If you have any questions about any of the selection procedures and processes, you can request feedback. We can't always guarantee we can get you all the feedback that you would like, but we can do our best to get feedback from the jury as well. And just so you know what the jury is looking at when they're looking at your work, this is the selection criteria that all the jurors will be given. Feel free to take like a screenshot of this if you'd like. We'll also send the presentation and this recording, obviously. Yeah, but the scoring criteria, so obviously like alignment to Nocturne and Marriott core values. If you want to learn more about our values and about the Marriott, you can look on our website and their website. So we kind of have like our background information, values and mission and everything. Artistic merit. So is it, original? Is it something innovative? Is it aesthetically fully formed? And then impact. So what is it bringing to the table in terms of what is it making people think about, its relevance, etc. I guess relevance is also down here. So relevance to place and community. Is it thinking about Halifax, Nova Scotia, Chipuktuk, the Harbourfront? Is it kind of being specific to place or responding to place? And of course, is the artist local and addressing local themes and topics? And does it represent perhaps a traditionally excluded community? So these are all questions that we look at. Experience in planning to execute the project successfully. So is it feasible? Is it something that can be done in the allotted amount of time that we've given and that you've set for yourself? And then any past experience that you've had to kind of show that that the work will be feasible and you'll be able to complete it on time.
Signe, we did have just a couple of questions pop up in the chat that I just wanted to address really quickly before we move on. So the first question, there are a few technical questions coming in. So do you have a shop or vinyl printer that Nocturne is already working with? So Marriott has a vinyl printer that they work with for signage and wayfinding and everything already. So we're going to be using their printer. So any kind of logistics around like the print width and stuff will be considered once, will be fine-tuned once the artist is selected, and by then we should have a good sense of what the design will look like and will be chosen. It's just a matter of finessing it for the space and for the print, if that makes sense. Marriott will be working with the artist and coordinating the install, so the artist's responsibility is really supplying the design documents that will be handed over to the Marriott, and they'll be printing them out and installing them. Jessica.
So like when you said design document, you don't need like color separation or anything like that. It's just like, could be a drawing.
Well, you would need to do the colors. Like you wouldn't be able to just hand them a JPEG, so if this thing is going to be printed across, the 11 different doors, what does each door look like, if that's going to be printed separately or not, right? So when you're proposing, might be like, okay, I'm proposing a series of like black and white stripes. Great. Okay, so then we've selected, we like these black and white stripes. Now in this last month, designing that logistically for the space and for the door, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and so in the submission, we're not expecting like a final super high resolution design or rendering, but that's something that in order to print, we do, it will need to be, they will have, I guess, specifications for that, which we'll try and find from the Marriott as soon as possible, to know kind of like what the printers need for specs and everything.
And you won't need to design, no one would need to design anything to spec until you're the selected artist. So we're not expecting like the 3 shortlisted artists to, like, you should have a strong rendering that you're presenting, and the work should be, you should have a good idea. We should be able to visualize what it will look like from those presentations, but it doesn't need to be the final works at that stage. Another question that's come up is emerging artists. So we generally look at emerging artists as folks within 5 years of finishing their BFA or their MFA. So if you've finished your BFA and you don't have an MFA, that's fine. And we kind of reset the clock when you start your MFA. But if you are a graduate student, you can still apply. That's totally fine. If you're a self-trained artist, that's fine as well. So the interpretation of emerging artists is generally quite loose. I pretty much, if you're I don't know, faculty at a university or something, you might not be an emerging artist.
And I think 5 years, 5 to 10 years is usually the expected. Like, you've been practicing for less than 10 years.
Yeah. And we would absolutely consider artists without a formal education. We recognize that art education comes in from different different institutions and different backgrounds and everything like that. So
and I mean, there's also folks who are maybe went to school for design or self-taught in design with, that's also valid. Definitely. And then the other question was the timeline for printing. So a month, March 15th to April 15th, you're saying is the timeline for printing. Is that enough time? I think at the point where the shortlist artists are presenting their work, they should basically have, almost a fully formed, like their files should kind of almost be ready. So I don't see any issues with that, but we can definitely talk about that on a case-by-case basis, and like the complexity of the printing, and if we need to, I think we've set aside a month as kind of the average time that we should need for printing. Yeah, does that make sense? Yeah. And Shreya, you had a question too?
Yeah, I have a question. I was trying to type it out, but I realized I'm not doing justice to it. Actually, 2 questions. The first question that I have is, this is on behalf of the Noisemakers 23, and we were just wondering if we applied as a group, some of us got together and did that. Would we qualify as an emerging artist collective? So this is question 1. And yes. The second question is that, during the end of the Noisemakers program, we spoke about how many of us were now able to tick mark the criteria for what Nova Scotia looks at when they define what the definition of a professional artist. And now, based on that, if I'm interested in applying for a grant, which is for a professional artist, and then I apply for this, am I I don't know if that is permitted, if that is the right way to go. So any guidance on that, really appreciate it.
Yeah, I don't see an issue. Jessica, I saw you, give a bit of an okay sign. Did you have anything that you wanted to add to that in terms of response at all?
Yeah, I think many emerging artists apply for and receive Arts Nova Scotia funding for their applications, and that is not an issue.
Yeah, I think generally when you think of professional artists, you know, like emerging artists fall underneath that umbrella as well. So you can have a range of professional artists that can be from emerging to, you know, very experienced artists. So professional is not just one kind of spot on that spectrum.
Yeah, definitely. That's a really great question, though.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for answering this.
Yeah. And the noisemakers do, we are looking at emerging artists as you know, a very general term, but what we want to do is make opportunities for artists who are new to creating artwork in Halifax, thinking about the opportunity for the finalists to present and gain experience in that way, and to, you know, dip their toes into public art in maybe a way that maybe they haven't done so before. So thinking two-dimensionally into three-dimensionally, so on and so forth. So I don't be dissuaded by the language that we're using there.
So it's okay for us to apply as an emerging artist collective.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I do have to say though, the artist fee and then the honorarium, like if the collective is to be shortlisted, unfortunately, like the honorarium stays $250 and the artist fee stays the same as well.
Okay, right. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, Signe, back over to you.
Great. No, thank you. So yeah, we'll go right into that. That leads nicely into compensation, getting paid for your work, which is very important. So as I mentioned, if you were chosen as one of the 2 or 3 shortlisted artists to give a presentation, we're giving each of these artists a $250 honorarium. And as Melanie just mentioned, if it is a group or a duo that's presenting, yeah, unfortunately, that would mean splitting a $250 honorarium for this presentation. So yeah, does anyone have any questions about that? That makes sense? Okay, awesome. And onto the artist fee. So the successful artist will receive a fee of $1,775. This fee follows the minimum Carfax fees for section A 1.6. It's titled Exhibitions in Other Public Places. And you know, I should have grabbed that ahead of time. If you want the link for that, just let me know. I have the page for these Carfax fees. Because it's not like a usual exhibition fee, but it's basically the fee, which is usually 3 months. Oops. And then it's plus like 10% for each month. So it worked out to this number. I think this might be a little more than the calculated fee. So anyway, if you have any questions regarding like how we got to this number, we're happy to answer that. So this artist fee will go right to you. This does not include materials or anything. This is just money in your pocket. So any money going towards the printing, the install, any of that will be paid for by a separate budget that is not part of that fee. So in other words, you're not being deducted anything from this. And the payment schedule for the fee, after you sign your contract on March 15th, you'll get the first payment, which I believe is usually 50%. The second payment basically upon install of the work. So April 15th. And yeah, like I mentioned, this project budget, which we didn't really outline how much the budget covers. We'll talk about that once you're kind of, once you've kind of gone through and been shortlisted. This covers material production and install. So yeah. Any questions about compensation or budget or fees? Okay, awesome. Oh, Jessica.
Yeah, that's a good question. So Jessica asked in the chat if there's any limitations on the artist's right to reproduce the work in the future. So artists will own their IP for the work. So no, there aren't any limits to the artist's rights around how you use it. So if you wanted to create the work and then you're like, I love this design, I'm going to put it on the t-shirt or a card or install it somewhere else, for a different final call, you can do that. You will own the work. If the Marriott's like, we love this and we want to use this image on a Christmas card or in an ad campaign, that is something they would need your permission, and they would also need to pay for that as well. And that would be a separate agreement. So you're really looking at producing work that's going to be installed on the doors and compensated for that, but not anything kind of in addition to that. So any kind of peripheral materials, if that makes sense. Documentation is a different thing, but yeah. Does that answer your question, Jessica? Cool.
Awesome. Also a great question. Okay. Yeah, we kind of went over this already, I think, but oh, actually, no, we didn't go over this date. So the installation timeline, so kind of after you've signed the contract, we're asking for the final ready to go digital files to be submitted by March 30th. And again, we would work with you and the Marriott to determine like what exactly those files need to look like, resolution, exact measurements of everything. So March 30th, we would love to, have those ready to go to the printer. Artwork will be installed on April 15th. That is our install day. So I believe we'll probably have like a crew of folks installing. I'm not sure which print shop they're working with exactly right now. So we would talk about that closer too. And again, you are encouraged to be present. It's really exciting time, to see this go up. So we, really encourage the artists to be on site. In terms of how long it will be up, right now, we have it scheduled to remain in place for 12 months, at which time it will be deinstalled. Again, that will be the responsibility of the Marriott and us, so you won't need to come in to peel it off or anything. And is there any questions about any of this? Does that kind of make sense?
It's a quick turnaround, but the idea is that like going through the application process and then the presentation process, you really think about the design, especially through the presentation process. So it's not like, oh, hurry up and design this. You already have an idea. We already have a sense of what it will look like. And it's really just finessing those details and sizing it and making it work for the space.
Awesome. And that is kind of everything that you need to know, or everything that we have for you right now. And if there's any questions, feel free to ask them now. or feel free to email us anytime. So I'm just going to put my email and Melanie's email in the chat here.
Yeah, and then any questions?
So that those are our emails there. Yeah, and then oh, thanks, Jessica. Again, if anyone, has questions about the space, and if you're curious about, just anything related to the space itself, feel free to shoot us an email. If I can't answer it, I will reach out to Jessica, who we've been working with at the Marriott. And again, if you'd like to pop by and take a look at the space, they're open to the public basically to walk through during the day. You can check out the doors and take your own photos if you'd like. We just really appreciate all of you being here and your interest in the call. And we're really excited to see all of the submissions.
I just one question I think that I would have had that I'm just gonna kind of throw out there is like, if anyone is interesting kind of colors or ideas, like I know printed vinyl is one thing, but if folks were like, oh, okay, I want to do something in like gold leaf vinyl, which I don't know if that exists, or if you want to do something that's maybe a bit different or out there, absolutely ask us the question and we can follow up with the Marriott and see if there's any limitations with the type of vinyl or, you know, any logistic things before you get too far down. If it's printed vinyl, or if you know that it's something that's black and white, or so on and so forth, that you feel will be safe, that's fine. But if you are in doubt at all, or just want to confirm any details, please ask us, because we're here to help for that as well. Yeah, and they do have good food. And they've been a really great supporter. They hosted one of our Nocturnes this year, which was really great. So they've been fabulous supporters, and they're really excited about engaging folks in and around the Marriott for Nocturne and throughout the year. So yeah. Great.
Awesome. All right. If there are not any more questions, we'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. And thank you all so much.
And this will be recorded and it'll be up on our website. Hopefully tomorrow I'll put it up, and I'll embed it on the blog page that has information just about the general call. So you can access it there. Great.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Thanks
Thank
so
you.
much.
Okay.
I just kind of had to make